What's up, Dad Bod Nation? Dad Bod Steve. We got another podcast on location at my school in the weight room, Pleasant Creek School. I'm here with an old friend of mine, someone who has an amazing story, someone who I want you guys to listen to because you can learn from what he went through and how even if you go through hard times, you'll see success. I have here my friend, Jon Lewis. Jon, thanks so much for coming.
What's up, everybody? My name's Jonathan Lewis. I am a personal trainer, have been for the last 24 years, and I am actively in recovery from substance and drug abuse. Have been since 11/26/2020, so almost 5 years.
So, Jon, we've known each other for a long time, right?
Yeah.
Long time. I was best friends with your brother for years. And to be honest, I never had any idea like what was going on in your family until the passing of your brother. And then when you reached out to me again, well, it was about 6 years ago or so, and said, hey, let's reconnect. Then you told me your story. We've had you come over, talk to the students a few times. Give everyone a lowdown. Like, where did it start with you when it came to addiction? Like, what was the beginning for you?
Let's see. So where it began with addiction, in the beginning, I would say the way addiction began is completely through my family. The way I was raised, the influences I was around, how I knew to cope with good things, bad things, all things was drugs. And so, yeah, it started at a young age.
So it was young age, and I remember you just did the assembly with my students, right? And you said you were born an addict. You came out because of the substances your mom was using while she was pregnant. When did you start feeling actually that there was something going on, or that you had a desire for those things?
Um, let's see, a desire for drugs and alcohol. I would say I craved that desire mostly with the gym growing up. Fitness seemed to numb things, or not really numb them, but use that energy that was kind of like basically that weight that was on my shoulders. I expressed that through gym, the gym life, fitness, stuff like that. And then really, it was when I started smoking weed that I noticed there was some connection to drugs, and I like the weed became something I like to escape with. And so I started smoking weed when I was like 20. But yeah, that just led to more and more stuff I'm sure we'll talk about. But.
Oh, for sure. So let's go back to the beginning. You did experience a lot of trauma. You experienced some stuff when you were young. Go ahead and tell us the start of that. Like what do you remember when you were younger, growing up, and kind of how everything started to snowball together when when you guys moved to Orem, and then everything kind of started going out after that?
Yeah, so like my very first memory was playing with some drug paraphernalia technically. So I was playing with the razor blade on a mirror, and I cut my thumb with that razor blade. Going back in time in my head and doing recovery, just kind of getting an awareness of what really happened to me, so I could better understand my situation. I started to realize, oh wow, like that wasn't just a razor blade that I cut myself with. That was actually me playing my mom's drug paraphernalia. Or, I noticed that, even the second memory I remember is I'm holding my mom's hand, and we're in her parents' home, and we're running from her father, who was an abusive alcoholic, and trying to hide because he'd gotten out of control. So trauma began really early. I had suffered all avenues of abuse, so I had gone through physical, emotional, mental, and sexual abuse growing up. And it wasn't until I started getting older that I realized these acts or these experiences came with a consequence, a feeling. It wasn't just the pain from these experiences. Like there's grief, there's not grief, but there's being depressed, sad, and feeling really deep feelings of sadness. But then it started creeping to anxiety. Like I remember having anxiety attacks when I'm like 10 years old, and not understanding what it all was about, and being too afraid to wake my mom and my dad because I was afraid that I'd catch the consequence of that too. So I remember laying down. I was sleeping on the ground one night when it happened, and I woke up and I had this insatiable energy and all these feelings. And the only thing I knew to do is to flex my muscles really hard and try to exhaust it or try to like use it because it was unbearable. But that, so in growing up, I was born in Provo, Utah, and I lived there till I was about 4 or 5, and then my parents made a decision to move us to Lake Tahoe. And it was in Lake Tahoe when I kind of had an awakening, and it wasn't the awakening that I've had, like say in my recovery, a spiritual awakening, or maybe it is. But really, I woke up one day. I'm 5 years old, and I just understood things. Like I just all of a sudden like became an adult in a sense. So I woke up that morning, went downstairs, poured a bowl of cereal, ate it all, and then I put away the cereal, put away the milk, rinsed out my bowl. And I remember my uncle congratulating me, be like, "Whoa, like good job, Spiky." Growing up, my nickname was Spike, and so a lot of family and even neighborhood kids refer to me as that.
Yeah, that's how I was introduced to you.
But yeah, so it was at that point that in that awakening, I started to take on things. So I started taking my little brother and sister on almost as a child, but more as like a leader, a real leader for them. So I wake up every morning. I didn't need an alarm clock. I just wake up early, get my myself dressed, get fed, get my brother dressed and fed, and get us out to the school bus. That's a lot of responsibility for a 5-year-old. Um, and then, as time goes on, the mental illness of addiction and the mental illness that continues to increase from neglecting healing and not working through our issues, it gets worse and worse or so as time went on. Things got rough.
For sure. And you told a story to the kids, which is crazy because most of the time when I have someone come and talk to me or we have someone come talk to the kids, it's I was introduced by my friends or I saw it on TV. But you gave a story about how your mom introduced you guys to alcohol at a young age. You want to go into that for a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. So I remember I was 10 years old. My parents were partying, and I had a wild little brother named Will at the time. And we're sitting there, and my mom is like, "Hey, you guys want to take a shot?" And I remember I had this weird, disgusting feeling about it. So like I felt like I didn't want to do it. Um, just because it's almost like I just knew better. I don't know, it was a spiritual sense. But to any regard, my little brother took his first shot of vodka when we were 9. And then, there was funny story. Well, it's funny now because I don't know, he passed away and different things. But ultimately, there was a night where my brother was hella sick. He was like puking in the toilet and he wouldn't come out. And he's acting super weird. And I was calling these numbers that I could reach people to find my parents because I'd be watching and tending over my brother and sister at this time. And finally, I got out of my brother what had happened and what he did. He snuck into like he found a boxed wine and he'd been drinking it.
Oh wow.
And he was wild enough already, so put alcohol in that kid. I mean, he was young; he was probably like 10 or 11. But either way, he was experiencing an overdose of alcohol, so he's throwing up and he's super sick. But time continued to go on. I remember when I was 12, we were up at Strawberry Reservoir. My mom asked us if we wanted to roll a joint, and I'm like, "What? Am I with what?" And she's like, "Well, you guys can use sage." And I already knew what she was going to use because she'd smoke weed in front of us all the time. So she taught me how to roll my first joint of sage, and she gets a lighter so we could like smoke it and feel cool or whatever. But it just was like the behavior, like if anything, like I was bred to be that type of person in my life. I wasn't bred to be functional in a sense or ambitious. The type of person I am today. I think I just naturally instinctively was. Very rare that someone comes out of their environment and changes, especially when that environment is instilled in us in such a young age.
Yeah. No, I mean, and when it's a normal thing in family, right? Because your mom's saying, "Hey, let's do it together." That's kind of like a family bonding thing in a way,
Yeah.
if you think about it.
Well, it continues. I mean, when OxyContin hit the public, my mom was probably hooked instantly. I know she was because she liked opiates before that, and
I don't think she's alone though. That was a common thing. That really
definitely,
hit the epidemic.
it wasn't right. Let's say. But when that happened, I remember she got super addicted to it and had a massive prescription, so they're handing out like candy. And then she kind of like wanted like her misery or her disease or just maybe her thrill of getting high wanted us kids to get involved. I again had that instinctive sense of just like, no, it's a really bad idea. I don't want to be a part of that. 'Cause I did have good influences in my life. But my little sister, I remember she's exposed. Well, she got seriously addicted to OxyContin when she was 13. The prescription that she was given OxyContin for was like endometriosis. My little brother also was addicted at that time. And then it went through the family. Like everyone seemed to have had their chance to be addicted to that drug. But something I didn't share with the kids that was super traumatic, or not traumatic, but just it's mind altering for me. Were the times that like they would try to get me involved. I'm talking not just like, oh, you should try it sometime or anything like that. What I'm talking is like I was locked in a room with my family members and they have a line of it and they're not willing to let me leave until I do it. And this situation turned into an altercation where I'm willing to fight them and break things just to get myself out of there. So the power of these drugs is insanely strong. Like I think a lot of people don't understand how strong a drug like OxyContin was. So for some of the understanding and research I've done, what I do know is that certain drugs, when you get off of them, they're attached to a similar system in the body. So our primary needs in life are shelter, food, and sex. Those are like the primary carnal human needs. Beyond that, drugs go into a different part of the brain where they're actually deeper of a need. And where I understand some of these drugs lie would be the same system that's controlling your breathing. So, literally, when some of these people get off drugs, please have patience and compassion for them because their brain is making them think they want that drug as bad as they want to breathe. And so that's the challenge that a lot of these people run into. That's why there's so much credit that I give and that should be given to the recovering addict because it's way harder and way more challenging than people understand.
Oh yeah, I mean, and you talk to the kids about it, and one person said, "How did you do in rehab?" I mean, and this is kind of jumping ahead, but we had an adult rehab here, and a
Mhm.
couple of them have been there multiple times. It's not a one and done thing. Like addiction is not a go to rehab, just stay off of it, and then you're off of it. You never desire it again. It is big time. Like
Definitely.
you desire it your whole life.
For sure. I mean, you think about it like so let's say so drugs are the symptom, right? The real issue is underlying it's pain, it's grief, it's abuse, it's trauma, it's all these different array of negative feelings. And as they stack up in life, there hadn't and there still probably isn't a really good way to cope. Like people have to learn these things. That's why there's so many treatment centers being built and so many that are currently active is because they're trying to actually instill coping skills for these people. So, like, I remember being in my first treatment, which was a detox center. I thought that if I just got off the drugs through the bulk of the withdrawal, that I'd be fine. And I
Mm-hmm.
felt like relatively like strong willed. But to any regard, in that detox unit that I was in, um, they gave us a list of coping skills, and I'm like, what is a coping skill? Now, keep in mind, I'm like 33 years old and had gone through a ton of different challenges in my life, and I'm barely finding out about coping skills or like how to really like allowing that brain connection to happen because it didn't happen when I was growing up.
Yeah.
The coping skill I witnessed growing up: so you have a bad day, you have drugs or alcohol. You have a good day, and you want to celebrate drugs or alcohol. Everything in between is the same. And so it was just kind of mind altering to understand that, but here's the truth is because the symptom isn't drugs, it's something deeper and healing. There's no arrival point. So in my healing, even though I've come so far, I still there's no arrival. There's no oh you're healed, you're saved, you're a miracle. Yeah, I'm a miracle for getting this far, but there's nothing to like ensure that I can't slip. I could have some really serious grief come along that throws me in a total headspace and activates a bunch of old trauma and all these different things. So it's not uncommon for us addicts to relapse, just due to the fact that we're still learning how to parent ourselves.
Oh, absolutely. And what you said is you're learning these coping skills later. It's not something that we actually learned later. I mean, or earlier, right? We in our generation, it was you guys suppress your feelings, don't talk about them. If you're mad, don't get mad. If you're angry, don't get angry. If you're sad, don't get sad. Don't talk to people about it. Don't go to therapists, right? And it's totally shifted now.
Hmm.
Totally shifted to where now it's encouraged, which is a good thing because I see people getting through these hard times in their lives a lot faster than what it was when we were younger. And so it's one of those things now that they're teaching these mental and physical and spiritual and emotional and all these different skills for people to learn that we didn't learn when we were
Yeah,
younger. It was kids need to be seen, not heard, right?
exactly. And even worse, or let's throw in toxic masculinity in there. It's because, society believes that you're a bitch if you cry, or if you're vulnerable, or if or if you're a big masculine male and you're sweet and kind. It's like, it's looked at it like a weakness. And so it's even harsher being male in that gamut of things, because society made us believe that we're supposed to be ultra strong and we have no feelings and all the above. But that starts to really check out with how many men deal with issues today. Um, like I'm blessed to have ever had children, 3 daughters, because it brought out the nurturing side of me, and it was really weird, like weird, because it was like where I was uncomfortable holding babies, and I felt like, what if I drop them? I know their value. That's not mistakable. But what I didn't understand is like how to nurture. It was like it wasn't second nature for us. Definitely not for me. And so it was just like, I had my 3 daughters. I have triplets. Um, and when I had them, I remember like doing all the feminine things, nurturing them, feeding them, diapers, you name it. And I'm doing it 3 times as much as just your single, your ordinary dad. And I remember one point, I remember talking to my ex wife, and I'm like, yo, like, I feel like I need to grow boobs. Like, do I need to like take some kind of like medication to like help with this? Like, how is this supposed to be possible? Because it felt so weird. It felt so foreign to me. But in that, it's, like, and it's really funny we're talking about men or being a man. Like, I remember standing in the kitchen and being like 34 years old. And I'm like, whoa, I'm a man now. Like, body hair don't make you a man, muscles don't make you a man. What made me a man is be willing to put myself not first, to not be selfish, to be able to compassionately give things away. But more or less, it was the when I learned how to nurture that I found that, oh man, like this is what being a man is. It wasn't that I can bench press 500 or run a 4.840 or any of that stuff. It was all based on being gentle, kind, soft, meek, sweet. But then that's when I realized, holy cow, like that's where the power is. The power isn't in all the aggressive and all the harsh things I could do as a male, but the power is in having the ability, in a sense, to be dangerous, or to be masculine or hyper-masculine, you name it, whatever. But then taking all that masculinity and turning into the nurturing side, that soft, calm, kind, those different qualities. That's when I found that's true power, and it made me look at life differently. It made me look at um, it made me look at associations and different souls I met, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that means that giant Polynesian dude I met in the gym that's ultra sweet is actually taking this leap in manhood, and he's so kind. And what's crazy about that, we bring in vulnerability too,
Yep.
because it doesn't feel good to be vulnerable, and it's not that it doesn't feel good to be kind. It absolutely does. But I'll tell you what, we live in a society that doesn't accept it all the time. Like I did this whole test on society in the gym a while back, and the test was is that I'm gonna say hi to 3 strangers a day. Just give them a wave, simple hi, simple gesture. I look like me. There's no reason for a big, muscled up, intimidating man to be kind to just anybody. But I want to see how like society would accept it. And what I found in my experiment is 1 in 3 people would say hi back. Usually, I'd get crusties from one person. The other person would act like I don't exist, and then it was usually an older male or older person. They're like, "Oh, hey, hi," and then they were like welcoming, and it's like that's sad. Like, who are we trying to be as a society? Because being all cold, tough, and hard does not make you cold, tough, or hard. what makes the hardest people I know are actually the best fathers I know.
I think it's a Utah thing, to be honest.
Could be.
I when we go on vacations other places, people say hi to us constantly.
Yeah.
And it's really weird because people just wave and say hi. You walk past someone, they just say hi, smile and look at you, they lock eyes. In Utah, it's very different,
Yeah,
you know?
you're actually right. Like I remember, I was saying this to somebody a while back. I'm like, yo, when I go to like Vegas, people like respect me and are nice to me for being this person. Like I walk into a gas station and the clerk's like, "Oh, hey, hi, how you doing?" And I say something back, and it's like they can't wait to entertain me, like with like just saying, just like continuing the conversation simply. Whereas like I like walk through the gym or I do anything in Utah, it's you're absolutely right. And it doesn't come off tough. I'll tell you what, just because you don't look at me or say hi back to me doesn't make me think like, oh, you're superior. What it does, it makes me feel bad for you. It makes me feel bad that you're so guarded and that you're so insecure that you just can't like give a common hi to somebody. Because I know in my life, there have been like, I don't know if they were just like angels in human form or what, but just that simple hi, that kindness that just comes out of like humanity, a person you don't know has no real reason to be sweet or kind to you. They come out and they actually like give you a hi and a smile. You're like, hey, like, thank you. I needed that. But man, like, where are we at if humanity needs that? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't think, and I think it's social media, honestly. People don't know how to socialize anymore. But either way, I could spin this whole thing in so many ways. I'm just glad to be here.
I think, to be honest, I don't think it's a necessarily uh, I'm a miserable person or anything kind of thing. I think in Utah, there's a skepticism with, you know, what,
Trust.
45% LDS, predominantly LDS. And if someone's not in your LDS ward, it's like, well, who are you? Why are you talking to me? That's kind of how I've noticed
Yeah,
it.
I could see
And
that.
so, but it's in, I think it's gotten a lot better though. With a lot of people moving in from outside of the state, they, I think people have been saying hi a lot more. People will just stop me and say, "Hey, can I ask you about your tattoos?" And we'll have a nice fun conversation, you
For
know.
sure.
And it's a lot of fun. So let's go back on to where, and if you guys want to see Jon's story, we did a live stream with an assembly. Go ahead and check that out. We won't go into too many details about that, but get into the point where you just go through your last rehab. You've discovered, hey, I need to figure this out. I need to figure out what's going on. As you're going through that and you're discovering who you are, how did that change your mindset? And then how did that propel you to where you're at today?
So the last time I went to rehab, like where I'm in recovery now, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
what I'm okay. Um, so really, this time was different. This time was, I think, in the human experience, we go through the running in circles around things until we realize it's just ignorant. The adults, like becoming an adult and being responsible means I'm gonna walk through things to me. So when I walked into the rooms of recovery in St. George, Utah, and I chose to recover, I wanted to make sure that I wasn't number one. Like the first thing I said to a counselor was like, "Hey," she's like, "So what's your problem?" I'm full of shit. She's like, "What? Like how?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Like I talk myself out of this all the time. I'm just full of shit. Like I don't have the ability to be honest. Like I think I just ran circles around my problems for so long. I didn't know where to start or begin. Like I didn't know where to end. I had no idea. Um, but what I found like early on is the self awareness. Like coming into recovery and having come off some like pretty heavy duty like hard drugs. I I noticed that I didn't know I was always emotional. Not necessarily like bawling, but I always felt a sense of emotional intensity that was very uncomfortable. And what I came to find out is that like when you come into recovery, you really don't know the emotions of what it feels like to be hungry. Like you're so stunning, you just have it's like nothing's organized.
Mm-hmm.
So you're feeling all this emotion, but you can't quite put them on a shelf that they belong per se. So I started gaining awareness first, and that helps with like being bluntly honest with myself and actually getting close to other addicts so they can help walk me through it because I wouldn't be able to do it on my own. But from there, it was a self awareness, and then I could understand myself emotionally a little better. And then as I got better at the self awareness, I started to understand my triggers. I started to understand what were the hardest of my emotions to deal with, and which ones were easy. I started to understand that what emotions were being coped with my workouts and which ones I had to work through. And then, getting going in and out of a relationship and stuff like that, I started to understand that what emotions were triggered by trauma. So I can understand, oh man, my trauma is triggered, and then eventually it breaks down to what trauma is triggered. So I understand when my betrayal trauma is triggered, or I understand when it was abuse or grief, all these different avenues. So I had a better understanding of who I was, and all the meanwhile, I stuck to my dailies. The dailies of like working out. On the beginning of my, like from day one of my recovery and for the first 1,279 days, I exercised every single day. And what I found in that was intimacy, personal intimacy. So I don't know. So like a really good example of this is like, yeah, some of us can regulate our emotions, some can. I'm getting better at it. I'm no guru at it. But what I will say is when we're dealing with heavy feelings, if you were to pay attention to the awareness of how you're breathing, you notice that you're breathing very shallow, really shallow, in fact. And so a lot of times that's why people are always like, take a big deep breath, to take a deep breath. It's because you're slowing down the process of healing in that moment by shallow breathing. And what I noticed is that no matter what, so I'd always work out early in the morning, but no matter what negative emotion I'm dealing with, what day I'm dealing with, I noticed that the breathing, the mindful breathing of exercising in the gym was regulating those emotions. And so it was a conscious effort. So mindfulness is tough. If you're dealing with any kind of feeling, mindfulness is an extreme challenge because it puts you in the moment of where you're at right now. And you can't run in your mind either. But through that, the self awareness, the blunt honesty, and an open mind, and the willingness part. So like in the rooms of NA and AA, they have a saying. It's called the how, and it's honesty, open mindedness, and willingness. Those are like the three ingredients to get recovery and actually get long term recovery. So I held on to those tight, and then it's just like not everyone's willing to work. I noticed like at this point in my life, I wasn't willing to walk around things and dance around things anymore. I was willing to walk through them. And in doing that, the gym fueled it. Because every day when I get ready for the gym, I'm bending over and I'm sore and dehydrated. I'm throwing on my shoes and I'm going to go to the gym no matter what. But it was in that harsh moment of like my reality of being sore and uncomfortable that I was able to stand up for myself. And then that was a catalyst through each day of why I stayed clean and why I remain, um, you know, how I got here really.
And now you have a successful training business again. You're down in St. George, Utah, training a lot of people. You got back into the industry that you really fell in love with,
Yeah.
through before and throughout your addiction. And so, if you could, in your success story, your big success story. Anytime I come to St. George, we go hang out, we
Oh
talk
yeah.
about it, and it's so much fun. What is one thing you could tell to anyone struggling with addiction right now? What is one piece of advice to give them to get them started or to get them through it so that they don't feel like there's no hope?
Uh, the the piece of advice I'd say is that your feelings won't kill you. Emotions can kill us, and they don't last forever. Thank goodness, right? Um, I would say that if you're struggling, get through enough days and put yourself in a safe space. My associations today, they're all safe, all moving up in the world, all rising, making necessary steps, going through hard things, but having a group or a tribe to rely on if those feelings get too dominating for too long or whatever. And really just the understanding that, hey, you can't die from these feelings and there's a way out. And through the rooms of an NA or AA program or in essence, over time, building the right tribe and learning how to cope, you can get this done. There should be plenty of hope. And through it all, you find the strength and intrinsically, not the muscle, but the willingness to just do about anything to to have a good life and be successful. All I gotta do is work.
Work is a big one. I mean, and never give up, right? That's one of the things
Never.
we tell people. We have kids who come to our school who they're back in rehab and they feel ashamed. And it's like, don't be ashamed. You're back in getting help, right? If you fall, get back up. It's not the end of the world. And sometimes you do need more help than what people think. Like you were saying before during your story, oh, I thought I could just do it on my own. I took care of it. I knew better than everybody else. I just went back and then I just fell. As soon as I got back, I fell. And so never give up is a big one that we love to tell people. So, dude, thank you so much for coming. If you guys want to check out more of his story, check out St. Louis on TikTok, and you also have Jon Lewis on Facebook and on Instagram. He goes through a lot of his own recovery, but he also posts a lot of stuff about fitness in his industry. Check him out. We appreciate you coming, man. Thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's so good to see you, bro. We'll see you guys next time.
See ya.